first off, you can see that there are different icons now. The icon set has changed, even from the way that Windows 8 looks. The color scheme and so forth of the desktop, you can either set to be a color of your choosing, or you can leave it set as I have it set, where it will pick a color from the desktop wallpaper. So if you look, for example, here, you can see that it's a dark bluish color. But obviously, as I change the background, you can see that it's now dark purple. It's now a kind of a grayish color because it's picking up kind of the grayish color on the edges here. This probably changes to blue again. Yep, blue. Red because it's picking up the red in the jellyfish. This is probably going to default to red here too. This is just a funny desktop background. No, it doesn't default to red. I guess it's picking it up from the black. If you have lots of blacks and whites, it'll kind of default to a grayish color. So it must have been picking up the black, not the red. Kind of a teal sort of a color, I guess is what you'd call that. So you can see that that changes depending on your desktop background. I'm going to leave it here for now. And where you would change that is you would go here to, what do they call this little area here? Action Center, they call it. So you would open up your Action Center and you'd go to All Settings, and you can go to Personalization. Click. And that's where you would change that, your colors here. You automatically pick a color from a background, show the color. So I could take that and turn it off and go to black. So I can change things like that. Or I can choose from one of the... Man, this will look familiar. If it'll load. Yeah, see, and that looks familiar. You're used to seeing that from previous versions of Windows. Lock screen. With your lock screen, you can choose to have the Windows Searchlight feature on, and the Windows Searchlight feature, and I can't show it to you because my video won't record it because it'll take me out to the lock screen. The Searchlight feature will choose from a Microsoft image a background for your lock screen. It'll, similar to Bing, if I pull up, let's pull up Spartan because Spartan's changed a lot too. This is just kind of the default look of Spartan, which they're going to call Microsoft Edge. Spartan was the code name. It's actually Microsoft Edge now. So if I just go to Bing here, it won't be the same image as what the Bing image is, but you'll have these, you see these little squares here that pop up with little information. You'll have that in the Searchlight. If Searchlight's enabled, you'll have that on your lock screen, and it'll give you little hints and tips and things like that that it thinks that you don't know about the operating system and so forth. So it'll kind of help you. And what you'll do is when those things pop up, you can read those, and you'll have up here at the top right the option to tell it whether you like the wallpaper, whatever you want to call it, or not. And this again is in the lock screen, not on your desktop. And if you say that you don't like it, then it will choose a different one. If you say that you do like it, it will keep it, and then over time it will learn what you like and what you don't like, and you'll get more and more things that you like and less things that you don't like. So I really like that feature. Again, this is Microsoft Edge, codename Spartan. There's not too much different about this to talk about over the other version. You still have your notes taking feature and things like that. So that's not really any different as far as things go in Microsoft Edge. There's more Cortana integration, and so like when you go to maps and things like that, you'll be able to speak. That's upcoming. I don't think that that's in it yet, from what I've seen. Um, Obviously Cortana has changed some too. It had been a window. Now it takes up this whole thing here. You get your news and weather and all, if you have all of that set up. Obviously you can ask Cortana a question, so and you hit enter, and then it brings it up in here. You can also speak to, remember, your Microsoft there, and the way that you do, they've also added this feature that if you hit Windows, I think it's Windows C, who was the 30th President of the United States, it will pop it up in here. So you hit Windows C, and then it automatically defaults to listening to your microphone, and you don't have to actually click the microphone there in the box. And then it'll pull the answer up if it can in here. And, settings along the side and all that, that hasn't really changed any. There's nothing really as far as that goes that's different. It's a pretty powerful little feature. I don't know how useful it's going to be to most people on the desktop, but there again, Windows 10 is meant for all platforms, and it'll the continuum feature. It will adjust itself to whatever size screen and all that it detects that it's on. Again, start button is back now. Unlike in Windows 8, you can shrink this down, but you can't do like in the other video. There was a thing up here, and you would just click that, and it would shrink it down. You can't do that anymore. The way that you have to do it is go through your settings. You would do that through here, and it is personalization start and use full screen. So I would take that off, and then it pops up down like you see there. I don't particularly like that, so I'm going to leave it full screen. And of course, when it shrank itself, it did something I didn't want it to do. So I'm just going to drag all of this back to where I had things, more or less where I had things. And we'll put that there. Random silly stuff over there. Alright, fine. I don't want to waste time on the video messing around with all of this stuff. Did I have news down here? See, I can't remember how I did have it. But anyway, so you have all of this, and again, you can change the icon or tile size, whatever you want to call it. You can change that. I've shown you that before. Now, to get to your power settings in all programs, you come up to the top left here where you see this little hamburger menu. You have your account settings that you can get to there, obviously. Your power settings you can get to here. All apps you click, and then it comes up, and you have, and that's analogous to all programs in Windows 7 and prior versions of Windows. So that's pretty straightforward. Nothing really changed too much about that. The other thing I wanted to show is, I'm wondering what would be good. Okay, so one thing is when I open CCleaner here, you have just a bar, a light colored bar at the bottom of the screen. The color of the bar will change somewhat depending on the color of the desktop scheme. So again, if I went back and just to choose a different one, you see there it's a different color red. bar there at the bottom, and that indicates your windows and which windows are active. So like if I let me open Edge again. So that tells you that there's an active window there. So anyway, what you're going to be looking for is you're going to be looking for the way that this fills. And in Windows 7, I'm not sure about Windows 8, but in Windows 7, when you had something with a progress bar, it was green, and it would fill from left to right. It would advance as the progress bar advances in the window. So you could be in a different window and you would know the status, as far as the progress and all goes, of what it was that you were doing. So watch this, how this fills in. You see how it's going lighter colored and it's advancing from the bottom to the top as this advances from left to right? That is the indicator of your status, and it does that even if the window is minimized. And so that's how status indication is shown in Windows 10. I kind of like that. I think that kind of understated, it's not as garish as the way that it did with the green bar advancing left to right in Windows 7. So I kind of prefer the way that it's doing it right now. I'm waiting for it to finish so that you can see what it looks like when it's completely done. Here we go. Shouldn't take too long. There we go. And you can see that it's completely finished based on the change there. And then if I exit out and go back in, you can see that the color when it's completely done, I think, is the same as before it starts. Yeah, that looks the same to me. If I open up Microsoft Edge. And there you can also see too that there's a difference in the color. That darkens. I hope they fix that so that it doesn't go lighter and stay lighter when you hover. That's probably one of the things that they'll change and as they make the thing, fixable bugs and stability issues and things. But so that'll be lighter colored. You'll also see the same thing with the bar at the bottom in the lighter color. If like you're in an instant messenger, like if I was in Skype or something and I was in a different window and someone sent me a message, you would see that change too to indicate that there's a message that you haven't seen in Skype. So there's not too much really different about it, but there are some changes over the other version. Mostly what's been done is it's been made more stable. They've added features into Microsoft Edge. Some of the apps have gotten a lot better, and some of the apps have changed a lot. This is the Microsoft's weather app. This I really love. They've packed it full of information versus the other version. It's a much cleaner. The detail versus the summary view. You can see how the weather's going to change, the temperature change, and all throughout the day. Or you can have what I prefer is the detailed view. I really like that. They've integrated it in with maps as well, so that you can see so much in the weather app versus the way that it was before. And again, they've cleaned the lookup and all of it too, in addition to adding a lot more into it. So some of the apps have changed. The store app is a little better than what it was. This is still in beta, they're saying, but this is what the Microsoft Store app will look like, more or less. Probably at this point more rather than less. I think most of the visual changes have been finalized. I don't anticipate that the user interface or anything is going to change much going forward. I think that that's pretty much finalized at this point because the release date is due into July. I think it's July 29th. So we only have, another month and a half or so. So they're not going to be changing much of the look of things at all. And then it's good that happened because because it gives you an idea for how it looks like if you have an update in your apps, what that all looks like, that whole process. You get a little alert here, and you just click it, and you can see. So some of the apps have changed some, but overall, as far as the look of the desktop, the way that it functions, and how you do things, that hasn't really changed much. They've added the color picker feature from the wallpaper. They've added Searchlight. They've added some into Microsoft Edge. They have changed how you would make this into a smaller window versus full screen. They have changed, obviously, this aspect of it. This had been right in here. It wasn't in anything separate. You didn't have to click anything separate. It was right all in here. Um, and so that has changed, but that's not that big of a deal. I don't see why anyone would have a problem finding that or understanding what to do with that. In a way, I kind of like it. I'm kind of iffy on it because I like to keep things to as few clicks as possible. But in a way, I also kind of like it. I like it. I think I like it more than I dislike it. Because again, if you are doing more in here with your app dials than in here with all programs, I can see how that would be a benefit to you. It kind of fades more of the stuff that you aren't going to be needing into the background, and you're left with most of the space being devoted to what you're using the most often. So I can see how that would be a benefit to a lot of people, and I kind of like it for that reason. But again, it does add a step in if you are doing a lot in all programs. What I would expect, though, because I never really used all programs much myself, what I would expect is if you have things in here that you're needing to get to, you're probably putting an icon on your desktop. And if you're going into this, you're probably looking for an app top. That would be my guess. I don't know. Can you pin those to the desktop? No, you can't. You can pin them to the taskbar, though. You can pin them down here if you were so inclined. But so yeah, not too much has changed, but I did want to do an update video to show the things that have changed. And also icon sets down in here have changed some too. So like the wireless icons changed and all of that. So there are some changes there. Like the icon set that we have. I like the way that all of this looks. Nice and flat. It's an evolution, I think, on their Metro theme. The Metro theme I wasn't wild about in Windows 8, what I saw of it. So I'm glad that they've tweaked it some. I think it looks a lot better, personally. Again, some of these kinds of things are just matters of personal preference. But anyway, that's Windows 10 as of what build are we on? 10130. And that just came out like a week or so ago, I guess. And it's June 4th, 2015 right now, so this is probably going to be more or less what Windows 10 looks like when it rolls out. I don't think I forgot to cover this in the other video, but you do have task view, and you do have virtual desktops and things like that, and that's all functioning the same as it did in the other video, because I think I did cover that. If not, you just saw a glimpse of how that works. You have this here, the task viewer, and you would click it, and if there were a window open, when you click it, you would see the different windows that are open, and then you can also add a virtual desktop in. And let's actually look here. I'm curious about something. If I add a desktop, add desktop 2, and I open, we'll say CCleaner. I think this is one thing that has changed, and I'm glad that it occurred to me to look. Yeah. So this is local. It had been global. It's local now. If you have a window open on one desktop and another window open on another desktop, they stay. That it doesn't show globally. It had been that both CCleaner and Edge would show as opened. So they have changed that to being local as opposed to global. And I actually prefer that. I think that's a huge improvement that they've made it now local. So that's pretty spiffy. But anyways, that's all that's changed.